The boys like to draw. Regular pencils, colored pencils, artist pencils, you name it. And they always need a pencil sharpener. Never fails though. I've got a couple of nice ones for out here in the shop for my shop pencils. If they lose them, misplace them, I don't know what, and I'm reduced to using one of these cheap 99-cent things to try to sharpen my shop pencils. So, a while back Amazon had one of the Stanley Bostitch. Sure, it's not as good as the ones we had in school from 30 years ago, 20 years ago that were real heavy-duty industrial, but certainly look a whole lot better than these disposable ones. So I thought I'd pick one up for them. Here it is in all its glory, and it's got 3 holes to mount it firm to a base, just like when we were growing up they were mounted on the wall in the classroom or on the corner of the teacher's desk. But I got to thinking about it, and I don't know where to mount it that's going to be really convenient for them, you know, one fixed permanent spot. They do have a desk, and they also have an easel, but no real good spot I thought for it, you know, where I really wanted to put it. So then I got to thinking, well, what if I just mounted it on a board? And I've got tons of scrap from other projects, so it's going to be quick and easy. And as always, my quick, easy ideas turn out to take much longer than initially planned. The problem is if that's mounted there and you crank in here, what's to keep that from flopping around? So I got to looking, and I actually had some of these fence clamps for woodworking. So I'm going to use one of those, which means I'm going to have to buy some more because now I'm going to be one short for one of my table saw rip guides. So what I decided to do, the way this hook's set up, and there's some adjustability there, quite a bit of adjustability. The hook actually threads out, and then you've got the clamp piece with quite a bit of room as well. Drill some holes, that way I can mount on either end or at the edge here, and then I can clamp this to any desk, table, work surface, and there ends up being enough jaw travel there between the 2 adjustment points that you could put this about anywhere. And then with the sharpener permanently fixed with that clamped down, it's not going to wobble on you shaking there. So to do this, I actually have probably a much older than I am doweling jig, which you can barely even read the box. This was my dad's that he's let me have. I don't know if he bought this when I was a kid or before I was even born, but it's quite old. Actually seems to be a lot better quality than the ones I've seen in stores now. But you select your drill size, and actually measuring that rod, it's about 5/16, slightly smaller, slightly bigger, like a 64th bigger, so maybe it's metric. And so I actually had to go up a size larger. It does leave me with a little bit of slop in the hole, but it'll be fine once we clamp down. What I didn't want to do is go too thin. This is a premium white pine, not a yellow pine, so it's a lot stouter than your typical pine, but it's still, you know, it's a softwood, so I didn't want to have too big of a hole and not leave enough material there for that. Anyway, all of them are pretty typically the same. You have your guide bushing here. It's got a size number stamp there, and you align that guide bushing size number with the measurement where you want it centered. So 3/4 inch board, that means center of that's going to be 3/8. So we set that there, and then I made some cross marks here, so I'm going to put a hole, which I've already done 3 of them, on each side right in the middle. And you've got an alignment mark right there underneath where you can just barely see that. You could extend your line on down if you wanted to. So you set it on there like this, look for your alignment mark, clamp it down, and then for depth, I actually measured my distance from the top of the bushing here to the board, and then added that to the length of the rod that needs to go in there. And so I've set a piece of tape here. They do sell fancy set screw collars, stop collars. I've got some buried somewhere. They do work pretty well if you can get up on the shaft here. Here I'm past the thread part or the teeth part of the bit. So I can actually get on the shaft and that would work. But too often what I've found with them is you need to set your stop down here in the cutting area, and there's not a flat surface for that set screw to grab, so I actually do kind of prefer tape. The tape won't hold up after you hit it multiple times, but I'm only drilling 4 holes. I don't need it to be real durable. It's cheap, it's easy to peel off, so that's what I do. Now, this would be better setting down probably on a work surface instead of freehanding, because you can still get some wobble. You're going to have some wobble in the spindle on a cordless drill anyway, but really not too bad. The run out on these is actually not bad at all. And a smarter person probably would have done this over the top of a trash can so the shavings fall right there instead of onto the floor. But we've already got a mess here that I'm going to have to clean up from a couple other things. So there's no harm in a few extra little bits. So that's pretty well it. I've got holes drilled on all 4 sides for that clamp to fit into. And what I'll probably do, this is another of the Ryobi 1 Plus that I'm using here. I've got the cordless router, because my router table is at the edge of the wing of the table saw here, and it's buried right now. I'm not going to be able to use that. I'm going to take probably that handheld router and round over the edges here. What I might do is turn around and just hit it with the belt sander and round these corners while I'm at it too. Then I'll sand the top. I'll pre-drill some holes for the mounts, and then what I might do is just leave this unassembled until Christmas Day and let the boys help me put those screws in. That'll be a fun little project for them. Probably would have been enjoyable for them, at least for the 5-minute attention span that they have, to come out here and help me with this. But they're at school right now, and I'm just kind of killing time, so we'll go with that and see how it ends up. Here it is all set up in use, and you can see the kids have already drawn on the baseboard. So just as planned, we can put it here on the kitchen table, or we can unscrew the clamp and easily move it back to their room. And that clamp, by being adjustable there and there, will fit just about anything, whether it's their desk or folding table or something out in the shop or here. A couple things I wish I would have done different. Mounting directly on that base. For my bigger hands, there's almost not enough room. Keep your knuckles from hitting the bottom of the board. I almost wish I would have cut down a shorter board and spaced up just the sharpener itself, another maybe 3/4 inch above, and I think that would have given a little more clearance back here. There isn't a whole lot of room there on the handle to the base, but I think that would have given me a little more room there if I would have done it that way. So anyway, nice and simple, real easy, and it was a scrap piece of wood that I had laying around, so it took me next to no time at all.